Dwayne Haskins threw for more yards in the fourth quarter than he did in the first three quarters combined. Bill Landis, Doug Lamarice. I had written Dwayne Haskins off. When a game is going like this, you start writing your story. My story was about how the Ohio State passing attack didn't travel. It didn't work over here. And then on the last two drives of the game, it worked. It worked great. What did this tell us about Dwayne Haskins, Bill? Because it did not look good for a long time, but when they needed it, he was there, and a lot of these other Buckeyes were there. Did we learn anything about Dwayne Haskins tonight in this Ohio State win?
Yeah, maybe that you should pull back the reins a little bit on not. I mean, he could still go to the NFL for this year, and he's probably still in the Heisman conversation. He threw 3 touchdowns. He ended with a stat line that looks pretty impressive, even though I would argue for 3 quarters he wasn't all that impressive. I think this got to him a little bit. I think that was obvious. The offensive line wasn't blocking great, but there were times too where I thought he looked like he felt phantom pressure, and there wasn't any, and he made his life a little more difficult than it needed to be. And then he got helped a lot by his receivers at the end. But I think you did notice a change in the fourth quarter when the game was on the line. He started hanging in there a little bit. He stepped up in the pocket. He made a good throw to Ben Victor, and Ben Victor did the rest on a 47-yard touchdown. So I don't think Dwayne Haskins was awful by any stretch. I thought he was bad at times and probably just okay overall, and that's fine. He's a first-year starter playing in one of the craziest environments in college football. But I thought it was good to see how he handles something like this, because if Ohio State season keeps going the way you think it's going to go, this isn't the last time he's going to be in a big moment.
I wrote this week about how would Dwayne Haskins handle pressure. I thought he would handle this okay. Blitzes and offensive linemen just getting beat, I thought that maybe would be a problem for him. I felt like we hadn't seen that yet, and I felt like it was a problem for him. Penn State blitzed a lot. Ohio State expected that, but they didn't really handle it that well. The one thing, and we had talked about this, I think, off-air with our podcast maybe last week, about the idea of the one thing is in the NFL, all these quarterbacks are great athletes now. Carson Wentz is a great athlete, and Patrick Mahomes is a great athlete. Dwayne Haskins is so good when he has time. He's going to have to be just as good when he's pressured. He's going to have to make plays on the move. He's going to have to escape and throw. You mentioned it. He did that on the Ben Victor throw. He had not really done that the rest of the night. He didn't get sacked a lot, but if you're going to be a great quarterback, you can't just, when you get pressured, you can't just avoid the sack. Sometimes you've got to make a play. So the play calling helped. They started throwing screens and using the Penn State aggression against them, and that worked. But I think that is going to continue. You saw, and Urban Meyer talked about it the first half. He said that he thinks Penn State blitzed 7 out of 11 plays at one stretch. That's what you would do. Yeah. I think everybody's going to blitz Dwayne Haskins like crazy the rest of the year. This is his new world. Now, everybody's not going to be as good as Penn State. This is his new world. I'm very curious to see him handle it, because some guys are good on broken plays. I feel, and he scrambled a couple times, and you could see he's just not that athletic. Yeah. Where do you think can he get better, or is this going to be a limitation of his, sort of no matter what, because of who he is?
I think he can get a little bit better. I thought there were a few times where he did kind of move in the pocket a little bit, take a step to the left or the right, but then I thought he could have set his feet and thrown again, and he didn't. But I think if he goes back and watches film, he'll realize that there are openings for him to do some things. In the end, maybe he was just being smart and trying not to take negative plays, and they won. So I'm not here to criticize Dwayne Haskins. I just thought it was an interesting view of him. But I think if you go back and look at some of the plays that did fall apart, he might see some opportunities to create things that maybe he didn't see in the moment but could help him later on.
And the one thing is, he learned during the game. They didn't have to take a loss for Dwayne Haskins to learn. They didn't have to take a loss for this offensive staff to learn what are we going to do. They got it figured out in the fourth quarter and found a way to win, but they're also going to do a lot of learning off this. Bill Landis, Doug Lamarice, much, much more coming at cleveland.com after this Ohio State thrilling 27-26 win here in Beaver Stadium.